What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. And it's time to discuss the Orioles series that just happened. This week, there's not really enough games to do a whole recap thing of this week in Tigers baseball, considering that the Tigers had Monday off, and then they played Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then had today off as well while they were preparing to play Boston, or they had yesterday off, excuse me. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, had yesterday off, and they start their series tonight with Boston in Boston. And this Orioles series was a great series by the Tigers. You know, there was good battle back games. You know, there were some fireworks, you know, some heated exchange and whatnot, and some great pitching and some late inning heroics. So let's jump right onto it. We move to our first game, and our first game had Rick Porcello slated up against Bud Norris, and Rick Porcello was aiming for his 5th straight win coming into this game, and Ricky P this year has absolutely looked outstanding. You know, I touched on this a little bit in last week's video and this week in Tigers baseball. You know, Porcello is boasting the lowest whip on the, or I think the second lowest whip on the Tiger staff at this point. I think he just might be beat out by Max Scherzer now on the Tiger staff. You know, his strikeout rate isn't, I think it's nearly identical to where it was last year, maybe a couple ticks lower. You know, the guy pounds his zone. He isn't walking anyone this year. And having improved infield defense behind him. You know, Romine, you know, I was a big advocate of going out and getting Stephen Drew for a while. And, you know, with June right around the corner and you don't lose that draft pick after June 10th, I still think they should go out and get Stephen Drew just simply for the fact that, you know, he's going to give you better defense than Romine. Even though Romine, which was the point I was bringing this up, has played really well this year at short. You know, his bat hasn't been there. He's only hitting, I think, like 133 over his last 14 games, you know. But he is about as stable as they get. He's shown good range. He's shown a good glove thus point to this far. And, you know, I was pretty wrong about the fact that I didn't think that the Tigers were going to be able to sustain, you know, without a shortstop, a decent shortstop for the long haul. And which I don't think they're going to be able to for the entire season. That's why I still think Drew is a necessity after the draft mark point. That's where they don't no longer lose the draft pick, which I believe is June 10th. You know, you get a guy that's a bit better on the stick and help a lineup that's only scoring 3/100ths of a point less. Last year, the Tigers offense, I believe, scored 4.9 runs, 4.91 runs per game. This year, they're at 4.89. You're talking about a team that, you know, Victor Martinez is leading it in home runs. You know, Cabrera's just now getting the power stroke back. So they've been an almost identical offense. You know, and imagine just getting a Stephen Drew bat in there, someone that could play even better defense than Romine, you know, and give you a better stick. And, you know, you're not going to have to lose a draft pick now because of that. So, you know, Romine's done a great job, which I think has done a big reason for Ricky P's success this year. You know, Ian Kinsler, he's a really good second baseman. He's even better defensively than Omar was last year, even though Omar is a plus defender. You know, he's done great work there. You know, Romine really shoring up the middle there. And then Casty has done a bang-up job at third, you know, actually getting a first baseman that isn't the worst one in the big leagues right now, defensively, and Cabrera having over there. So I think this has been a lot of attributors to Ricky P's recent success this year. I mean, he ended up winning this game, getting his 5th straight win, excuse me. Basically, the scoring was Baltimore got out to an early lead in the second inning. Steve Clevenger doubled in J.J. Hardy. Miggy had an RBI single, which scored Kinsler, and then Jackson hit a sacrifice fly. And that's one thing Jackson's done a lot this year. With a runner out and one out, runner on third and one out, Jackson has gotten the run in over almost 60% of the time. He's done a great job getting that run and hitting sacrifice flies, and that's big. So basically, this game really took off in the bottom of the 8th, or the top of the 8th, excuse me. Ian Kinsler goes and hits a 2-run home run off of Bud Norris, which now brings up Torrey Hunter. Now, this pretty much meant the game was essentially over. It was a 2-run shot. They were down 4-1. You had Nathan coming in. So, Bud Norris ends up hitting Torrey Hunter in the ribs with a fastball. Now, was it intentional? Was it unintentional? You know, being a baseball guy, I like to think of myself as a big baseball history buff. You know, it wasn't uncommon, you know, 20, 30 years ago that, you know, especially in the days of the 60s and 70s, you know, you had a couple of guys hit a homer off you. A guy was going to wear one. You know, that's exactly how it was. And do I disagree with it? No. Can I say it was intentional? I mean, the situation, you just gave up a homer. You know your night's almost pretty much essentially over. You know, you've been hitting the zone all night. I don't think Norris only had 2 walks to that point. You know, he had 7 strikeouts. You know your night's essentially over. You can't help but think there was some intent behind it, you know, and Torrey took a little bit of offense to it by actually saying, I'm a whoop your ass quite a few times to Bud Norris. But the bench is cleared. And you know what I didn't get? Is Torrey didn't make any attempt to go out and, like, physically harm Bud Norris. You know, he was a little angry and whatnot. And all of a sudden, when Torrey was standing on first, all the bullpens and stuff cleared. It's like, why the hell is everyone running out here? It's not like Torrey's on top of them, UFCing them and whatnot, and doing, whatever those things are called, hammer fists on Bud Norris's face. You didn't need all those guys to come out here and cause a 15-minute delay in the game. I thought that was a little bit over the top, especially because Torrey wasn't being really aggressive, and he had big-ass Chris Davis there too, so he'd have to get the big Chris Davis to even get the Bud Norris and whatnot. And there was an umpire who tapped Torrey on the face, and there was a whole, people will sit there and make drama out of the most littlest BS they can possibly can. They're trying to say that umpire needed to be suspended, and Torrey Hunter said, he's known that guy a long time. He was happy he handled a situation like that, and the MLB didn't further investigate it, which was fine. People just look for reasons to complain about, this guy shouldn't be doing this because it's not right for the game. It's like all these baseball purists who just put themselves on a pedestal. It blows my mind with the stupid crap they'll try to get umpires in trouble and over. But anyway, so after that, Hunter wore that pitch. That was it. The rest of the scoring. Joe Nathan, who's been outstanding, come out, get another save, lock it down 4-1. Game 2. This was a great game. Let's fast forward all the way to the 9th inning. Tigers are trailing 3-1 or 1-0 going into the 9th inning. First off, let me say Ubaldo Jimenez, or Ball Blows, as I like to call him, pitched an absolutely outstanding game. 7 strikeouts over 7 innings, 3 hits. I mean, the Tigers, they usually beat up on Ubaldo, but he was absolutely stellar. And Drew Smiley pitched just as good. He only allowed a home run to Adam Jones. And that was it. So we go to the 9th inning. Tommy Hunter's out. And Tommy Hunter this year has absolutely been, he's got the most saves in the AL, but his ERA is extremely high. He has allowed a lot of base runners. And when you are a closer and you put a lot of base runners on, that's not a recipe for success, because you may be getting through it now. I mean, he only had 2 blown saves going into that game. You may be getting through it now, but allowing all those base runners, allowing potential scoring opportunities to occur, that was the biggest thing with Bruce Rodon a couple of years. When he was in spring training, he allowed like 24 base runners in like a ridiculous 12 innings or something in spring camp, and that's why his ERA was so high, because most of the time you can only stop so many of those runs from scoring. So anyways, Miguel Cabrera comes up. Torrey Hunter drew a walk on a great at bat. Tommy Hunter was coming out, and he was throwing just nasty. I mean, he did not want to face Miggy Cabrera. You could tell by that at bat. But Torrey Hunter, being the old pro that he is, he ends up drawing a walk and getting Miggy up to the plate. There's 2 guys on, and Ian Kinsler and Torrey Hunter. And what's Miggy do? On an 0-1 count, or no, it's a 1-0 count, Tommy Hunter tries to throw him, I believe, a cutter. And he left it a little up, and Miggy popped it right into the Orioles bullpen, left center field, and the Tigers bullpen went nuts. And Tommy Hunter was sitting there in disbelief. I mean, I asked Mariano Rivera about facing Miguel Cabrera with trying to get a closing situation. I mean, it's hard to do, man. When you bring up that guy to the dish in big situations, he's got 11 home runs since 2008, and then 8th inning or later that have changed or tied a score, which is the most in the MLB in that time. So I mean, the guy gets it done when it counts the most. That is for sure. So that Victor Martinez ends up coming up right after that and actually hits a ball out onto Utah Street. And that's been the first time that's been done since 1995 or 96. It was like almost 20 years or something like that I remember seeing. But Victor Martinez, he crushed it. And at an insult to injury, and that was it. Nathan comes out again, locks down another save, and the Tigers get that one. So now we're going for the sweep in Game 3. JV's on the bump. And JV, someone, was asking me, does it seem that Verlander's not as dominant as he used to be? And, it hurts me to say this because, I remember back 2011, 2012, watching this guy, and he would touch 97 at will, hit triple digits in the 8th inning. I mean, this guy at one time, I mean, you were watching greatness. You were watching 2 of the most dominant years I've ever witnessed and ever saw in baseball. I mean, they were outstanding years. The way this guy could go 130 pitches and still be throwing 100. I mean, I remember this game in Kansas City where he had 131 pitches, and the last pitch of the night he threw 100 miles an hour. I mean, those days are long and gone. But, Verlander, his walks have increased over the last couple of years. I mean, his strikeouts, I don't think he's even on pace to strike out 200 hitters this year. But this is the thing. As guys get older and mature, Verlander is 31, 32 now. I think he's 31. You can't wheel back and throw 100 miles an hour every single time and expect to have a career that goes all the way to your 38th, 39th birthday. Tom Seaver once said, there's applicable situations for when to use your stuff. Not every pitch in the game counts the same. And he would towards the end of his career, he was the master at when he needed to reach back and get a little bit something else, because Tom Seaver was a really hard thrower. But towards the end of his career, when he needed to reach back and get a little bit something else towards the end of the game, when there's a runner on base or whatnot, he would do it. And Tony La Russa, I remember reading his book talking about how he was the best guy I ever saw, being able to save stuff in the tank and not wasting all his energy at first in every single pitch. Like you see guys like Ventura and the Royals are throwing 100 miles an hour in the first inning, and like how Verlander used to be as a rookie, 97, 98, 99, 97 in the very first innings. Now Verlander comes out, he's 87 to 91. In the middle innings, when he's got runners on base, he'll get to 96. Very rare at this point now touch 97. So I mean, he's still got the velocity there, but he knows how to pace himself. So he's not as dominant as he once was. His command isn't as good as I think he used to be. I don't think he's probably still going to have a couple more 200 strikeout seasons, but he's pitching to more contact. He's getting more ground balls. But Verlander this game, he lucked out a little bit that through the first 5 innings, he had some real hittable pitches that were getting hit at, people getting caught. Because the Tigers gave him a 5-run lead real quick. Miggy had a couple of RBIs. Brian Holiday had an RBI. Danny Worth had a bunt single RBI. Rajai Davis had a sacrifice fly. So basically, the Tigers are up 6-0, and then all of a sudden, Justin Verlander loses it in the 5th inning, and he allows 5 runs. And he kind of unraveled. The Orioles finally got to him because his command wasn't as great. He was leaving up some hittable pitches and whatnot, and the Orioles made him pay for it. So it's 6-5. And basically, Verlander goes 6 innings and whatnot, and we get Al Albuquerque come out, who's been doing really, really good work as of late. Al Albuquerque comes out, pitches scoreless relief. Jabba Chamberlain comes out and pitches scoreless relief. Ian Kroll comes out, pitches a scoreless 3rd of an inning, and then Joe Nathan comes out and does his thing. And Rajai Davis actually had a home run, and another home run for Rajai. It's 3rd of the year already, so he's done pretty good work so far, hitting homers at a surprising clip that I wouldn't expect a guy to have 3 home runs, and we're not even 40 games into the season yet. So kind of surprising out of him. So made it 7-5, and the Tigers won it, and they completed the sweep. So, to round up my thought about Verlander, he's never going to be that guy again that we used to see in 2011, 2012. But to see him having an ERA sub-3, and over the last 2 years, last year he was real up and down all year, but saw towards the end of last season, really started to figure it out. And then this year, he's getting it done with lesser fastball velocity and whatnot, and really pitching, hitting the corners, getting ground ball outs. Because he used to, when guys like Verlander first came up, he wants to strike everyone out. And that raises your pitch count, which adheres you from going longer in the games. Getting 2 pitch outs, 3 pitch outs, not trying to strike guys out every single time allows you to go deeper into games and, help your pitch count. But the thing for Verlander is he's still, to me this year, even though the numbers are good this year, it still seems to me he's having a hard time once in a while putting hitters away once you get him down in the count, and he nibbles a little too much with his secondary stuff once he gets ahead in the count, which drives up his pitch count some. They used to be when you got 0-2 on Verlander, you might as well sit down then because you weren't getting a hit or getting on base. 0-2 hits were a rarity. I remember in 2012 he gave up 1 0-2 home run, and it was to Nunez in that ALCS game, and that was it. That was the first 0-2 home run he gave up all year. I mean, you were done when you got 0-2 on Verlander. It seems like this year Verlander and last year he's had a hard time putting guys away when he's been up in the count, which has been kind of weird out of Verlander. But he's still done good work. Like I said, this is a transition. He's more of a pitcher. He's not a thrower. He's learning how to get guys out on contact and just try to strike them out. So is he as dominant as he used to be? No. Is he still a good pitcher? Damn good pitcher. So we move on to the Boston series. It starts up tonight at 7:10. Max Scherzer is going up against Johnny Lester. And then game 2 is Ricky P going up against John Lackey. So we get the 2 top pitchers for the Red Sox right now back-to-back. But, Ricky P and Max Scherzer are pitching good baseball, especially Ricky P right now. I mean, he's pitching great baseball. And then Anibal Sanchez makes his debut against Jake Pavey, who the Tigers have absolutely destroyed in his career. So, I'm expecting to take 2 out of 3, get some revenge. The Red Sox, they've been inconsistent this year. Their offense has been inconsistent. Lester, he's been good at times. He's been really good over late. Lately, Lackey's been very good this year. PV, he walks a lot of hitters, so that's going to be something to break up on. And I'm going to be interested to see how Sanchez looks when he comes back off the DL. So, that's all I got for you guys today. Have a good one. Go Tigers.